changed it. They did not plug it in because it was the only machine that. So the guys installing the machines forgot to plug the fax, and I got an angry call from the guys in operations saying, we can't work and blah blah blah.
Of course.
And it took us some time to find out that it was because the machine was not. The fax was not plugged in.
Brilliant.
It's the usual case, the stories of tech support where you find out the screen is not plugged in. That's why it's black.
Your fax machine.
It was the fax machine in
No, but it
operations.
becomes your fax machine.
It was my fax machine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit in the view of time. We've got about 20 minutes left. You talk about fax machines, you talk about a little bit around shadow IT and the issue that caused. So let's talk about how staff at Eurostar were collaborating and sharing information before you came to Box and said, hi.
Oh, they were using a variety of systems, Dropbox and YouSendIt and all these various systems, collaborating with paper, collaborating by email, collaborating by anything they found.
Collaborating by email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sending an email, and you send it back to me, and then you enter a meeting room and you spend the first 15 minutes deciding who has the latest version. You have the latest version.
Okay.
And then getting somebody to reprint the latest version and exchange. I'm sure you've been through that. You've seen that once or twice or maybe more. The nice thing with Box, and that's where we got very, very fast adoption, is now we have people send an email with the agenda, and in the agenda we have the links with all the presentations, and nobody prints anymore because we have iPads or PCs and we come to meetings with our email. It's in the invite, so you have it, it's easy to access, and you click on the presentations and the presentation is on your screen. If somebody modifies their presentation to have the latest data, the latest figures, they modify the presentation 15 minutes before the meeting, what you see on screen is 15 minutes old. So there's no more of that debate saying, well, yeah, I've changed the slide, so you don't have the last one because I put the numbers from this morning. So your comments, nobody had time to see the slides and so on. That changes. And a lot of people, except for the ones needed to send faxes, see value in that. And it was a viral deployment thanks to that, because once you've been to a meeting like that, and then the next time you come to a meeting and you bring your slides and distribute the slides, somebody was bound to tell you, why didn't you put it in a box? I mean, it's so out of date, and it's expensive on top of that.
Yeah, of course. So, other than presentations in Box, what other challenges have you been able to overcome since deploying the technology?
So the initial business case was not presentations or slides in Box. The initial business case was to get rid of the old enterprise content management system.
Okay.
Because we needed to release documentation and have to our train drivers, and it's kind of the same as the requirement in the airline industry. We have to release documentation and we have to show evidence that everybody has received the documentation. So Box has a great logging system, and we can know when people read the documentation, when people access it. So we were able to prove very easily to the regulators who had access to the documentation, when they read it, and so on. And our old content management system wasn't able to do that. It was crashing. It was very difficult to use on mobile. Every time it was updated on the mobile, people had to re-enter the name of the server and their credentials. And because from iOS 7, your application is updated without you knowing, well, they could go to the train and not have access to that documentation anymore because they would need to re-enter the name of the server, which is never something like www.eurostar.com. It has lots of things in it. And they would have to re-enter their username and password and so on. And when they reach the train, they have 7 or 8 minutes to get ready to depart. And they can't use 5 of these 7 or 8 minutes to log on to their iPad. So the system wasn't working, and we had to change. We had a time to market issue, and Box was a good solution. We deployed it in like 3 weeks, so for 1,000 drivers.
Antoine, a lot of us work in businesses which have a extended supply chain. It's going through third parties, etc. How was your experience of that, and did you use this technology to link up with your supply chain partners?
Not everywhere.
Is that on your plans to go that way?
Well, we are doing that. It's not the case everywhere because of lots of legal issues, and every time it becomes serious, it's about safety and the trains. And so we have legal issues of sending documentation around and so on. For instance, now, our new trains are made by Siemens, and we're in the final discussion over where is the legal documentation, and can it be in box, and does it meet German requirements and our contract's requirements? Because when the contract was signed, box didn't exist. When the contract to buy the train was signed, these systems did not exist. So that's the system today, meet the requirement for the contract. And we don't want to go into changing the contract till too late. We may do that in the future, but we need to find that. And every time it gets serious, that's where we are.
What made me think about that was when you started to refer to the business case. And if you're looking at a business case in terms of trying to share information and give up-to-date information with the supply chain, often that's quite a strong business improvement opportunity you could bring with the technology. I was trying to think along those lines.
Well, we have, so Eurostar is about 1,700 employees, and more than 1,000 of them never come to the office. They don't have a desk, they don't have an office, they don't come to the office. They will go to the station, take the documentation for their train, for their trip, go to the train, come back, check out, go home. So we never see them. They come to the office when they go for training or for the Christmas party.
Or to fax.
No, these guys don't fax. They send emails. But they really come to the office for the party and for training, and that's it. So it's more than an extended relationship. And we have, I mean, 2/3 of our population is like that. So we needed to have something really easy and easy to deploy, easy to use. And add to that, not all of them, but like 1/3 are unionized and very strongly unionized. And everything that can be said to push back on something management is bringing is good. Anything they can say to say, well, it's difficult, so we need more money. It's difficult, so we need more time, and so on, is good. And for the system we had before was making that discussion very difficult. When we installed Box, even some of these, the union members said, well, it's so simple. I mean, we didn't even notice it was there. So the discussion moved away at this point. And I like not to be in the union discussion because of IT.
Good.
Okay, good. Can you give an example, perhaps, internal processes and decisions that you guys are making at the organisation via Box? Can you give some maybe examples of how that is, we've speeded up some of those decisions while using Box? Do you know what I mean? It's just a test to see if you're all awake.
So most of our documentation now, most of our documentation and so on is in Box. And all the train driver documentation, all the new train documentation is now distributed via Box. And we have a workflow for approval. So an engineer maintaining the train, so our trains are the longest trains, the longest high-speed trains. They're 400 meter long. And imagine the maintenance depot is a 400-meter platform. Your tools are here, documentation is here, but what you have fixed is over there. So we have bikes. People bike up and down the train because it takes too much time to go up and down the train. And they take their documentation, paper, bike up to the front of the train, fix the train, come back, sign the modification they've made, take some new tools, new documentation, and go back up the train. Because it's each work cards and tasks. Now they do it with Box because all the documents are in Box and they're connected. So we've also implemented Wi-Fi in this huge building, and connected through Wi-Fi. They have all the documentation in Box, so they don't need to go back and forth on the bikes.
So what happened to the bikes?
Well, it's still there because
Yeah.
they need to go back and forth from time to time.
Okay.
So we still have
It's
these
good
are-
exercise.
Yeah,
It's good exercise.
absolutely.
These are pink bikes because before that they were stolen, so now they're pink.
I think you have told me about that.
On a wider strategic thing, Antoine, do you look at integrating Box with your other maybe back office systems like ERP systems you have, and getting those more closely integrated?
Yes. The first thing was to remove the content management system. The second step, the phase we're in now, is to completely get rid of the G drives and T drives and so on, all the shared drives. And the next step is to start replacing some of the